Greetings. This is Ziggy, and you're listening to the Star Bright Project.
Welcome to the Star Bright Project, a Headcast Network podcast about one of the greatest TV shows ever created, Quantum Leap. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Moss. I have been a Quantum Leap fan since 1989. I discovered Quantum Leap through my mother. I was in my room at the time when my mom came in and told me there was a show that I needed to watch since it was about time travel. So I turned on NBC and settled in to watch my first episode. Man, I was hooked. Watched every episode. I rewatched it when it was re-aired on the USA Network and then later on other channels. Joining me is my wife and co-host, Michelle Moss.
Hello. Unlike Mr. TV,
Hey, I resemble that.
I can't say that I had the same experience. I may have seen 2-3 episodes, and what I did see, I thoroughly did enjoy. When I met Aaron, it was one of those moments that surprised him when I told him that I actually knew of the show. Though, I didn't tell him how little I had actually seen. Here it is 14 years later, and now I'm watching each episode in order, one by one, as if it was a new primetime TV show, and I truly am excited. I do hope my inexperience will bring some nostalgia back to some of the old fans as I relive some of the mysteries and ask some questions you may have once asked back when you took your first leap with Sam and the rest of the Star Bright Project crew.
Join us monthly as Michelle and I settle in and watch the entire run of Quantum Leap. I'm the Quantum Leap, expert on the show.
And I'm going to be the one asking a lot of questions, but hopefully helping reignite people's love for the show through a fresh pair of eyes. And we can experience it together on the Star Bright Project podcast.
Welcome to the Star Bright Project. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Moss. And as always, joining me is my wife, Michelle Moss. Hey, honey.
Hi.
And we're not alone. As usual, we have our friend from the land down under, Mr. Hayden McQueenie.
He just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich. And he said, I come from a land down under.
Woo! I'm the ghost of Hayden McQueenie. I've come to haunt this podcast. It's easier getting a hold of you now, because I can just haunt you both.
Clever.
How are we going?
We're going all right.
That's good. Well, you two are still alive, so you must be doing better than me.
Yeah, we haven't died yet. We're not talking to ghosts, I don't think.
Literally, if you think that haunting us is like the pinnacle of your ghostly career, then no one else has pissed you off worse.
Well, I warned you not to use the B word. And I'm not talking about bitch.
Boogeyman, boogeyman, boogeyman.
I'm going to be rattling some chains around you. You know?
So yes, as you can tell, this isn't a Halloween episode, but it's a ghost-filled episode.
I'm calling the Ghostbusters.
Who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters.
This is Season 2, Episode 11, A Portrait for Troian. This was directed by Michael Zinberg. Story was by John Hill and Scott Shepard. The teleplay was Scott Shepard and Donald P. Bellisario.
Time out.
Yes.
Time out. We lost this episode.
Right. Because
I said boogeyman. Ha ha, funny. Because someone dropped
you still
his...
won't learn, will you?
No.
Because somebody dropped his...
Hard drive.
And killed it. I was this years old when I realized what the title was connected to the show. I always thought it was the weirdest title for this episode. And I could not figure out what the heck it was, where it was connected. And then you just said it right now and I went, oh, crud. They were talking about the portrait in the whole show, Michelle. Come on, dummy.
They kept coming back from the dead.
Well, I knew that, but I was like, a portrait for Troian. What? I don't ever see him have a portrait. I'm thinking a photograph for some reason or something. It just, literally, it was the biggest blonde moment I think we've had so far on the show where I went, oh, a little light
sure
went
are
on.
pretty.
What's worse is I actually think it's landscape, not portrait.
Ha ha, funny. God, you have so many dad jokes, it's sickening.
Yeah, sometimes it was portrait, sometimes it was landscape. So
Yeah.
both is correct. As I was saying, before my wife had a ha-ha moment, a moment of clarity, as it were, the leap location and date was near Los Angeles, California, February the 7th, 1971. And this originally aired December the 13th, 1989. The synopsis, which is from Al's Place, Dr. Beckett leaps into a stormy night. He is in the middle of a cemetery, and a beautiful woman standing at the doorway to a mausoleum is calling out. She presses him to check whether his electronic machinery has picked up anything, because her dead husband, Julian, is calling to her. Jimmy, Troian's brother, wonders whether Sam is helping her to further his own ends. He tries to warn Sam off with the help of a weird Mrs. Stoltz. He is worried that Troian is having a nervous breakdown since every member of the Claridge family has died a violent and untimely death, including Troian's late husband, Julian, who drowned in the lake 3 years ago. And this is A Portrait for Troian. So, as we mentioned earlier, this is at least the second time we recorded this, maybe the third. I've lost track now due to my hard drive crash. So we know that me and
I've
Hayden,
obviously got some unfinished business.
while you're still here.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we all know, me and Hayden have seen this episode multiple times. And actually, by this time, Michelle's seen this a couple of times now.
I don't know if did we watch it. We watched it once and I could remember nothing. We watched it the second time and I actually enjoyed it because I think the first time we saw it, I slept through the whole thing.
Usually.
I do. I'm horrible, and we all know that because we've made it very clear in these episodes that I have a tendency to have to watch these like a million times before I process them. Or see
Attention
them.
span of a goldfish.
Hey now. Just not a huge TV person like some of us are.
You're calling me fat.
So real quick, some miscellaneous trivia from this episode. Dean Stockwell did the whispering voice from the grave of Troian and Jimmy. That was Dean Stockwell's voice. Michael Zenberg, I believe he was the director of this episode. He was actually involved with 9 episodes of the show. And this episode was written for the very first season, but eventually aired during the second season. In the opening summary, you can see clips from the Kamikaze Kid. Also, about Kamikaze Kid, at the end of the episode, Sam leaps into the Kamikaze Kid. And I was reading on the IMDb trivia stuff, and apparently this episode was right before the winter break. And so the next week they replayed it, a rerun, and they didn't show the next episode, which is Animal Frat, until January. Yeah. So that's why he leaps into the Kamikaze Kid at the end of this episode.
And we have also a lot of cameos from people who work on the show in this episode. Obviously is Debra Pratt, who plays Troian in this episode, but also Don Bellisario is in the episode. Did you happen to see where he was, Michelle?
He was in the mirror, and he has beautiful eyes. He really has really, really beautiful eyes. I could see why Donna was attracted to him, because he's a very handsome-looking gentleman.
Do you mean Deborah?
Yeah, what did I say?
Donna.
Deborah. Oh, crap.
That's Sam's.
Hey, at least I got the D part right, okay? I'm sorry, Deborah.
You've got D on the brain, Michelle.
Yeah.
And also, real quick, something I saw on IMDb's trivia.
Hold on. I want to say something.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Because you guys are knowing all this trivia, so I want to point out something.
Please.
Yeah.
I noticed the brother, and I was telling Aaron, I was like, I've seen that guy before. What's he been on? So he's rambling stuff off, and I'm like, okay. He goes, Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. I'm like, that's him. He was the dad. I was all excited because I'm being a Disney brat, but it was really nice to know that I picked him out. He was the dad of Zach and Cody in Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Yep. And also in crew cameos, Paul Brown, who was one of the writers of the show, he played Julian Claridge, one of the bodies that got dug up from the water at the very end. So, yeah, we've got quite a few interesting cameos. And Carolyn Seymour, who played Miss Stoltz, she will later be Zoe, the evil C word, later on in the series. Yeah. And she always sends me a happy birthday message on my birthday.
Oh,
and she always writes something like, Lothos told me it was your birthday today.
Very nice.
Who?
One of my favorite guest stars.
The evil counterpart to Ziggy from the Evil Leaper episodes, which we've seen.
Okay.
So it's spoilers, but it's not spoilers.
It's spoilers for me again.
But
God dang it, man! I hate that. I hate my.
Well, it just makes when we get to it again, it's fresh for you. And
you know what it feels like? 50s first dates. That's exactly what we're gonna start calling this. Is Michelle's 50 first dates with Quantum Leap? Because it's exactly what it feels like.
I see it more as Dory.
Yeah. I don't like that analogy. That makes me feel really stupid.
I'm never watching Quantum Leap again. Ooh, Quantum Leap.
Oh, we've seen that show before. What's Quantum Leap about?
What are your first and second and third and however many impressions, Michelle, of this episode?
I will say it's one of my favorites. It's like up there.
Really?
Yeah, I actually thoroughly enjoy. I like paranormal
you like
stuff.
Better than the vet?
What?
What is the vet?
The vet.
Okay, big for.
That's where I think you were going. I just was hoping it wasn't that. A, B, C, D, E, F that show, and its mom, and its pig, and everybody else in that episode.
Oh, we're going to have to play Dean Stockwell's alphabet rap there.
I love that.
No, I really enjoyed it. And it was funny because I knew it was Debra, but my 51st Dates brain kind of like forgot. And it was like in, the little brain in the back of your head that's like jumping up and down, waving flags at you, saying things, right?
Yeah.
Well, my librarian was telling me who it was, but my consciousness was like, nah, that's not her. But the first time I saw it, then the second time I saw it, I was more familiar with Debra at that point because we've had so many shows. We've talked about Debra a lot. So I was
We've had Debra on the show.
Yes. And I
probably never again after.
I know. And which makes me sad because now enjoying the show as much as I have and knowing the show and knowing all the talent and wonderful things that she's brought to the show, there's so much more I could talk to her about. It was too early on to bring her on for me to talk to her because I had nothing under my belt.
Don't worry. I actually think she was quietly,
amused.
Yeah.
At my ridiculousness.
Well, actually, since there's a new Quantum Leap show coming out in the near future, hopefully near future,
we can get a hold of her.
We need to see if maybe we can get someone on the show that knows her and maybe we can get her back on the show to talk about the new
And you can
show.
explain to her my stupidity. But so anyways, watching it again, and I'm very much, and my son gets this from me, where if they're pretty, I'm more interested in it. And that's why I liked Sleeping Beauty over Cinderella's, because she had long, pretty blonde hair, and I liked the dresses and stuff. So, that was my favorite Disney princess. And it didn't matter that the other princesses were awesome or whatever, but they had short hair, or it wasn't blonde. And so I didn't like it. But Debra, she's so pretty in this, and I love her outfits, that it literally was like, ooh, shiny object. I gotta watch this. And I was really honed in on it. And then the story and stuff brought me in too. But I really think Debra was very pretty in this episode. She just she's a very pretty woman. Yeah. But I really thought she was really, really, they made her look really pretty in this episode. And I loved her outfits. And then I was like, wow, she's wearing all white. And then after her husband is found, she's wearing pink. And I'm like, I'm sure that somewhere in whatever writing scheme that they did and clothing scheme and whatever they did, there's a reason for why she's wearing pink. After the show, she's wearing all white, and then all of a sudden she's in a pink top. So I was like, there's some significance there that we don't know about.
But is it supposed to be some sort of symbolism of...
Yes. She's
I don't know what it would be
freed, or
symbolizing, though.
Maybe she was being free, or she's letting go, or...
the white was because she was innocent and pure, and then after Sam saved her from the water, they went to the boathouse, and never mind.
See, I was thinking you could have gone with the pure of heart in all of that, or maybe white signified straitjacket, and...
She was going crazy. And
yeah, I don't know, but I thought it was really interesting. And I don't know if anybody else noticed that in the show.
Sometimes a rose is just a rose.
No, I'm sure there was something, because you don't put a character in all white through the whole entire show. Have something significant where life changing, and then have them all of a sudden wear a different color. You just don't.
Maybe.
No, it's
Depends how good or bad the
it's
writer
that
is.
smoking gun thing you guys talk about, or whatever it's called.
Or Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, that thing. The smoking gun thing.
Well, that's interesting. I've never heard that actually pointed out before. I've never thought about it. And I'm trying to think, well, what on earth could the red be representing?
Pink.
Well,
It
the
was
red
like,
that creates the pink with the white. you see.
right. It was like a very soft, pastel-y pink. And it's absolutely driving me mad knowing that. Like, because
Maybe it's meant to symbolize blood being on her hands.
there was no blood on her hands.
No, not really.
No.
Although- no. Well, it wasn't her fault that anyone died, was it? So,
No.
No.
Well, let's get over.
See, if she'd been at least indirectly responsible for it, I could probably come up with that argument. But yeah,
But
damn it! Now I'm going to have to do some homework and have a think about this.
Good old John Hill or Scott Shepard and ask them if there's any sort of meaning between the switch from white to pink.
there has to be. Because if you think about it, maybe it's because, if you want to talk about like the loss of innocence, like she's lost the idea of her brother being a certain way, or now she's got closure, or maybe, I know in some cultures, white actually is representation of mourning. I forget which culture it is, but there is a culture that white represents mourning. Same thing as yellow. Yellow is also the color of mourning, where, instead of wearing black, they wear white, or they wear or yellow. So I'm curious if that has something to do with it. And then now that she's not mourning anymore because she's made peace with her husband being gone, now she can wear
Eastern Asia, Cambodia. Maybe people wear white mourning clothes in Eastern Asia.
No, that's really interesting, Michelle. And this is why people love listening to you, being the newbie, because you see things that we have glossed over after having watched it over and over again. So, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Damn it, I really do have to think about this now. What would be the significance of pink, though?
Yeah.
Well, why pink?
Yeah, and that was my thing, is like, why was it that soft rose pink? Like that blush. It was almost like she was reborn or something. What?
Well, I followed up on your question, and I said that in Eastern China, white means mourning. To the Chinese, pink is close to red. It's a lighter shade of red, as Hayden was talking about.
Luck?
No. Thus, pink is a symbol of happiness and repelling evil spirits.
Oh, repelling evil spirits.
And happiness.
Nice.
I mean, she's put her husband to rest.
Right.
Yeah, but also this is when Ms. Stoltz, as we find out, is actually the ghost, and this is when she actually finally does leave.
Yeah, so I think maybe a combination of she's at peace now, and she was indirectly able to help Mrs. Stoltz get rest.
Yeah. And Mrs. Stoltz is an interesting character as well. We'll have to talk a bit more about her
but my
question, as we go too.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I wonder if either the writers of this has an Eastern China background or something.
Well, who did write it? This is an interesting one in terms of the writing too, because they've got like different credits for the story and for the teleplay. So
the story was by John Hill and Scott Shepard.
Yeah.
And then the teleplay was by Scott Shepard and Mr. Donald P. Bellisario.
Yeah, so it must be they had a basic idea of what they wanted to go on in the story. And that's what John and Scott would have done. But then they need to put it into some sort of a form which actually translates to the screen. So they have to write the teleplay, which is essentially the script.
Right.
So, yeah. And apparently there were problems with this episode too, and that's why it did end up pushed back into season 2. It was, like you said, planned for season 1.
Well, I wonder if Scott Shepard has some sort of ties to Eastern China religion or something, because he was the one that's involved in both the story and the teleplay.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to see if I can get in touch with him if he's still alive.
But
I don't know.
How would that? But that could have been just a costuming choice too.
Well, you're the one that got us into this idea of symbolism. So.
No, I mean if the costumers were the ones who did it.
But something
that...
Oh,
yeah. Well, maybe I could ask John Pierre Doliak then.
Yeah. But something that blatant, to me, would seem like it'd probably be in the script. But...
Oh, yeah, maybe.
mean, it's not going to be in the script that we saw Al wearing sequinty green
Right, but that doesn't really
alligator print vest.
That doesn't have anything to do with the show. I mean, as far as...
But it could say that, you know, as his character goes, as a character description, Al is very outlandishly dressed. So it could possibly be that in the moment of them writing it, in the description of the character, in the actual writing, it describes her as always wearing white, blah, blah, blah. And then she's now wearing pink. And that could have been the symbolism of, you know, what you said.
And again, while we're talking, I'm looking at the internet's my friend. Scott Shepard, he's still alive. Apparently, he's currently teaching television writing at the University of Texas in Austin.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'll have to see if I can get in touch with him somehow. What a great line of conversation this has ended up being. Something I hadn't expected at all.
Yay! Well, you're
well
welcome.
done,
Thank you. And that's actually been bothering me since the second time I saw it. First 2.1.2 or whatever. I don't know. Whatever the
you
first
didn't
second
get
time.
that far the first time, did you?
No. I fell asleep, I think, right before like she even talked to... I mean, I was out like a light the first time we saw it.
Yeah.
But, no, there was that. Let's see. What are some... I found it interesting that the brother was always dealing with technology in the show. And, like, finding out later that he was, like, the one that was setting up all the stuff. And I was like, well, he probably set one up in the TV. And, you know, there's a lot of that in the back of my mind. But...
Yeah, well, that means that it's good writing because it actually was a good mystery, this episode.
Yes.
And the fact that they had clues all the way through that you can pick up and you would come to the same conclusion around about the same time that Sam did.
Now, there is a couple things I did not care for.
Okay.
But they're nitpicky. Number one, I felt like the water dripping down the frame was a little bit much. Like, they tried too hard to make it look ghostly. You know, like when you see statues on a movie and blood's dripping out of their eyes or something like that. To me, that was kind of what they were trying to go with as far as, like, the wet portrait. Had it just been wet or, like, looked like it had been in the water, that would have been one thing. But, like, literally when the camera zoomed in on it, it was like water was running down it. And that bugged me. To me, that was trying too hard. It was kind of like when the lady was up on the ledge on, don't tell me the episode name, I want to try to remember it. What Price Gloria.
Well done.
Thank you. When she was up on the ledge and all that water was dripping down her slimy face. Like, that's the level of annoyance it was for me.
Well, actually, on the subject of the portrait itself, which is probably a landscape anyway, but on that note, I don't mind the fact that it was overly wet because, like, it does seem a bit odd that painting that had been thrown into the river would end up back in the room with, you know, Debra, or Troian, I suppose is the character's name, with Troian drawn onto the bottom of it. But if that's the case, then it would make sense that they would go a bit over the top because the way that I've interpreted it is, not only is Jimmy really good at technology, but he's also quite a good artist, and he's actually recreated the painting and added Troian to the bottom of it. But in order to make it look like it's come out of the water, he's really had to saturate it and build that effect. So it makes sense that he might go a little bit overboard that way.
But I just feel like it still could have been wet, but it didn't need to look like there was still a faucet running on it.
What was the intention they were going for?
Yeah. I think that's part of...
Well, they were trying to make
Jimmy's...
it look spooky, but to me it was just overly done.
Yeah. Well, look, to me it actually seems like it's part of Jimmy's plan, so I didn't have a problem with it, but it's fair enough if you think that it was overboard.
And then I did, like, watching it this time, like, I made the connection. I didn't catch it, or I didn't give it much mind, I think is the better thing, knowing that Jimmy was the one who Jimmy? Was your brother named Jimmy?
Brother, yeah.
Okay. That's really hard because there's so many Jimmys in the show.
Yeah, and it's not long after the episode Jimmy either that it was shown.
So I must really like that name. Anyways,
well, it was planned for the first season as well, but you think if they've only just done an episode about a character named Jimmy, that they might think to maybe change the name or something like that. But I don't know actually when it was filmed either. So it could have been filmed even before the episode, Jimmy, and then just put in there. So,
but what I was going to say is I never put two and together. I'm like, oh, he's a really good painter because he was the one who painted the picture of her floating in the water and the dead guy. And I never put two and two together that it was him that was actually doing the painting. I was just like, oh, someone had... I think the first time when it happened, because I didn't know the outcome of the show, so watching it just like, someone who doesn't know the story of that particular story, it was very like, oh, there's a ghost that just appeared on the painting. That's very supernaturally, and like it was very supernatural to me, which is great because that's what they wanted as far as the first time viewer to watch it. Then the second time watching it, I was like, aha, someone painted that on the painting. And then it was like, oh wait, it had to been Jimmy because Jimmy is the one, because I think when we watched this the second time tonight, or when we watched it tonight, I told Aaron, I'm like, oh wait, it was the brother that did the thing. And oh wait, it was this. And he's like, maybe. And I'm like, no, it was. Like, don't do that. You're being dumb. like, oh yeah, the housekeeper lady's a ghost. He's like, or is she? And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, but also it kind of implies that if Jimmy's the one that's painting Troian dead at the bottom of the painting, then there's a good chance that he's just recreated the whole painting. So.
Yeah, well, now that you said that, I'm like, oh, that's a good possibility, yeah. Watching it tonight, I was just like, oh, he painted that on top of the painting, and they threw the painting in the water, but maybe it didn't sink, it just kind of floated. So after she had threw it in there, he later went and retrieved it, or it landed on shore or something, and he was able to get the painting. Because really, to be honest with you, it'd probably be very buoyant, unless they tied it down.
Yeah, but the water would also probably destroy it.
Not if you've sealed it with varnish and stuff, no.
It depends what kind of paint to use.
Yeah. If it was an oil painting or something. Because really, if you think about it, when it was flooded with water this time, nothing was ruined.
But the other thing, too, is wouldn't it be more difficult to paint on if it's been saturated as well?
Not if you dried it off and then painted it and then made it wet again.
Well, look, it's a possibility as well. I'll give you that. I just tend to think it would be easier on him to just recreate the painting.
Yeah, probably easier.
But I guess...
Well, how long ago did she throw it in the water, though?
Well, I was under the impression that she did it not long after the husband died, so...
Ew. So he would have had
3 years
time.
ago.
Yeah, so he would have had time to paint it, let it dry, so...
But I guess painting talent must run in that family because...
Yeah, and that was another thing. I was like, oh, Jimmy's really... That's what I told Aaron. I'm like, oh, he's really talented, too, in painting. So... It would have been neat if they would have made... And no two painters are the same. So I really don't think it was the second painting. Because he would not have been able, unless he was like a savant, to recreate that painting to a T where the painter who painted it didn't realize it wasn't their painting.
Of course, in his defense, she has been in mourning, and she may have not have...
Yeah, but if you've looked at... But if you've looked at something long enough, you know it's yours. Trust me on that, being a graphic designer and a teacher of graphic design. Right. That's kind of like, remember when we were driving through Fresno one day and I went, oh, that was my logo. And it was some church was using my logo that I had used for something else at work that I had created for an internet company. But the guy who was a salesman was also in that internet company, and he was part of that church, and he had literally given my design to a church.
I hope you sued them.
No, it wasn't worth it. But
I would. Churches have a lot of money. May as well take what you earn.
Needless to say, that church's not around anymore. So apparently you didn't have enough money to stay around. So that was my thing, is like her looking at it. Unless he was that good where it was really close to the original painting. Right. I don't care who you are. You know your style, and no painter is the same.
Yeah, but at the same time, Jimmy was heavily into criminal activities. There's a good chance a forgery might have been a part of those as well.
Yeah.
So he could have been a very talented forger somewhere along the way. Yeah. But anyway...
we can get hold of one of the writers. And I was looking, apparently the other main writer...
John Hill?
Yeah, John Hill. He passed away in 2017.
Damn.
Rest in peace.
Well, we better get hold of Scott Shepherd as soon as we can then. All right. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about the character of Ms. Stoltz. I would actually have liked to learn more about her.
Yeah.
We would need to have a whole episode on her.
I think so too, especially because of her behavior. This actually opens up a lot of the lore of Quantum Leap. First of all, did you notice kind of in the first couple of scenes with her, she seems to notice that there's something off about the Leapee. I can't remember what the Leapee's name was, but who Sam's leapt into, seems to know that there's something off about, what was his name?
His name was Tim.
Tim, thank you. Tim Minchin or something, wasn't it? No. Tim
Mintz.
Mintz.
Timothy
Thank you.
Mintz.
Yeah. Well, she seemed to notice that there was something off about Tim, and also she seems to notice that Al is there. Like, she makes this statement while she's staring daggers in Al's direction, saying that strangers aren't welcome there. And it would make sense if she's a ghost, because as we might find out a little bit later on, the dead can see Sam and Al.
Which means there's more dead things coming. Dead things, Mikey, dead things! Sorry.
By the way, Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. But anyway.
I see dead people.
He was. Spoilers.
Hey, if you haven't seen the movie by now, that's your fault, not mine.
True story.
Yeah.
Dead things, Mikey, dead things.
Yeah, but it also makes me think, remember, she was murdered by her husband. There's actually a good chance that she's kept herself at the manor to look after the women of the Claridge line, which obviously Troian is now the last one. And it would make sense that if she's seeing these strangers coming into the house, who she also thinks are going to take advantage of her, then, yeah, it would make sense that she'd be wanting to stop them from doing stuff to harm her. So she's come to the wrong conclusion that Jimmy's the one that can be trusted and that Sam and Al can't be.
Right.
And that's probably why she's gone and locked Sam up in the tower towards the end of the episode too, because that's something I always wondered about too. If she's not someone who's out to get Troian, then why would she be locking up Sam and Al? But if she thinks that they're the ones that are going to try and hurt her, it would make sense that she would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, she's a really interesting character, and it's very difficult to say whether she's on the good side or a neutral or on the evil side. I'm leaning more towards that she wants to protect the women of the line, and that's why once, Troian is safe, why she would probably think that her business is done and that she would move on.
See, I thought maybe she moved on because they found her body.
Well, there's that possibility
that's what
as well.
I thought.
That's what I was thinking too, is like...
So she might have just had that unfinished business of her own body having never been discovered and no one knowing what was going on.
Well, I think I didn't really think about it till you said something, but I think maybe it's a dual purpose. Maybe she's stuck there because her body is stuck under the water, but while she's there, she's got to help looking out for the women of the house, the Claridge house. But now that her body's free, she's free to move on, as it were.
Yeah, and you know what? What some of us in the fandom have kind of done as a connection. You might remember, Michelle, from the first Evil Leaper episode.
She doesn't.
How Zoe makes the statement that they clawed their way out of hell, and some people think that she's actually saying that literally, so they actually connect that maybe Zoe is actually the same character as Miss Stoltz, and clawed her way out of hell to help out Lothos. Because it's the same actress, of course.
Oh, okay. I was confused for a second there who Zoe was.
Like that idea.
That's a little bit far-fetched to me, I think.
I was wondering about tying the two together, but seeing how she was murdered by her husband, and on the theory that we're talking about how she's looking out for the women of the Claridge house, I wouldn't see her going to hell and having to claw her way out of hell, but...
Yeah. Well, look, I'm only pointing out that that's what some people actually connected. I don't agree with it either, but I'm also pointing out that, that's what some people have said could have been the case. Yeah, another fan theory.
Now, I found it interesting that throughout the house, she never smiled. She never looked at peace. She looked very stiff, very grumpy.
Grumpy cat.
But... her body, when they found her body, she actually had a restful smile on her face, a peaceful look.
Right.
And she was smiling. It was almost as if that showed that she was at peace, which allowed her to leave. So, you know, a lot of times they say people whose jobs are not done or they're not at peace, or there's people who are still mourning them to the point where they can't let them go, that they aren't released into heaven or whatever the case may be, or afterlife, or they're still standing. If you watch like Teresa Caputo, who's the Long Island medium, actually I just found her podcast the other day. I was listening to a couple of them, which was kind of funny, but it was really cool. But sometimes because people won't let their loved one go, it's said that, you know, that they're still in this limbo state until peace is made. I'm wondering, well, I'm pretty damn sure that the way she acted in the house versus the way they found her body, that's why they had her face look like that, was because she was actually very at peace and smiley and looked soft and like, yay, I'm free. So I thought it was interesting.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's obvious that she wasn't happy about not being having not been discovered in the whole time that she was in the house, though.
Well, yeah, I'd be pissed too. I mean,
yeah. Also, we were talking a little bit about the lore of the show, and it turns out that the leaping itself and also Al can be picked up by sophisticated equipment. So, yeah, so it proves that it's not just like a soul moving out. There's actually real things happening in the past.
Right.
So it's not like it's just like Al is not just being projected into Sam's head. He's actually there, and he's being picked up by the equipment.
Well, another
I
proof
just thought
of
that was interesting.
Yeah.
Another proof that Al's not in Sam's head is that he was able to be centered on Troian when she was out the
and
lake.
also be picked up by Troian as well,
Yeah.
because he could speak to her through the technology.
Her and Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy.
so that's how she was hearing it, was through the technology.
Yeah.
Same way
Oh,
Jimmy was.
I was just thinking like he was doing the whole driving Miss Daisy thing again.
Yeah, no, that was the equipment that both her and Jimmy could hear.
Oh.
That's why he picked up the equipment and started throwing it in the water, because he thought she was using his equipment against him, and that's why he stopped hearing Al when he threw the earthquake detector, I call it, thing into the water.
The seismograph or whatever it was.
He threw that in the water, and at that point,
He caused the earthquake.
that's why he stopped hearing Al.
And the dog stopped barking and all that stuff.
And that's why Al started yelling, and then it was more of a normal voice after that, because the machine wasn't translating his voice.
Distorting it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. No, I just thought he was driving Miss Daisy thingy to her again. I totally didn't pay attention to that. Oh, okay.
In fact, Sam actually mentions during the episode that it's the machines that's...
Well, I know that. I remember that part, but for some reason...
Yeah, the machine picked up the loop.
I was just having so much faith in Al and his ability to do stuff like that. And because I've seen him do some funky stuff now, it's just okay, Al's being Al. And it's just showing us that if he tries really hard, he can driving Miss Daisy it again.
And again, if it was up to Al, it'd be Beautiful Blondes.
Well, yeah. But, it kind of reminds me of other TV shows where you have ghosts and they try really, really hard to push something off the table, and they're trying and they concentrate and then finally, bloop, that's what I was kind of contributing it to. He was driving Daisying it again.
Yeah. Well, there is the chance that Troian might have been able to pick him up even without the equipment, though, because of the fact that she was so close to death. That's why Ms. Melanie was able to pick up Al at the last second too. That's because she was about to die. That's the reason. Yeah. So there is also a chance that Troian could have picked him up from that as well.
And there may be other reasons I don't want to go into right now because it's spoilers for future episodes.
Well, at least there's something to look forward to. Now, I will say that earthquake seemed pretty drastic for no property damage or that was, for her to be almost falling into the water, that was some major seismographic stuff, and for the water not to be real wavy and I don't know, the earthquake that they pulled off in that was just a little bit not believable for me.
As big as the earthquake seemed, there wasn't enough outward.
Yes. It just looked like someone just shut
Just
the
wait
camera.
till you see them try and pull off a hurricane.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
No, I
I
get
just
that,
caught
but-
myself.
Oh, show's over.
But I suppose there really is only so much that they can do, though.
Yeah, I know. It's just, it would have been nice if it wasn't like, had they not tried so hard with that. I would have, I would have even believed just a smaller earthquake that didn't make it look like they were trying to Blair Witch the cameras, but like, because any kind of wave in the water or, oh my gosh, it's an earthquake, and like kind of steady themselves, I would have believed that the bodies were being nudged out of the water. Like it wouldn't have taken freaking the earthquake from the 80s that I experienced when I was a kid to do that.
Sorry, Michelle, just on a side note.
Yeah.
Apparently, in the new Quantum Leap, the pilot episode, when the leaper goes on their first leap, they end up in that particular earthquake.
Cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to go too spoilery there, but that's kind of common knowledge at the moment. So, yeah, he's leaping to the 1989 earthquake.
Yeah, I was in my room on my bed when that happened, doing homework. That was crazy. I don't know if you remember it, Aaron, or not.
I was living in Merced. I was sitting in a chair in the front room playing video games.
Sounds about right.
I was living in. What the heck?
Hayden, do you remember? Oh, wait. Wrong place. Have you ever experienced an earthquake, Hayden?
Yeah. Oh, they've scared the shit out of me before, don't they? We had one a few months ago, actually, and it was very early in the morning, probably about 6 a.m., and everything started shaking, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on here? But the other thing, too, is that, like, the bungalow that I sleep in, it really was rattling. I thought it was going to crumble down on top of me, so I ran out, ran inside, and everyone else had gotten up as well, wondering what was going on. It was over very quickly, though. But, yeah, definitely scared the bejesus out of me, though.
That's not cool that you were in that, but it's...
Oh, it was a little cool.
I know. It's not cool for someone to be in an earthquake.
Yeah. I think it was a magnitude 6, something like that. So it's on the medium size.
Right.
Sort of.
It's just funny because us, the Californians that have been in through a lot of earthquakes, were just like, nah. Like, you can see them on Facebook. Was there an earthquake? Did you feel that? Like, you just see all these feeds of like, I think I felt an earthquake. Did you feel an earthquake? Yeah. And then they're like, oh, it was here. And they're like, oh, did you feel the aftershock? Yeah, it was here. And then we just go on with our day. And then you talk to people who like live more Midwest or East, and they're like, earthquakes scare me. They're horrible. And I'm like, no, tornadoes and like those kind of things scare me. An earthquake, not so much. But
well, you're the ones that chose to live there.
Yeah, just no. I'm glad I'm far enough away from like that hopefully, knock on wood, unless California falls into the ocean, then we'll have beachfront property. But
yeah,
I don't know. But we digress.
Yeah. Anyway, Aaron, I don't think we've heard any of your impressions about the episode yet.
I'm sorry, honey.
I didn't like it. No, I'm joking.
What?
I'm joking.
What'd you say?
Oh, I didn't like it.
Oh, I thought you said I know I like it. And I'm like, what?
No, it was, yeah.
So hang on. We've got one that Michelle is a fan of and that Aaron's not.
No, I'm joking.
My God, what kind of a topsy-turvy world are we living in at the moment?
Cats and dogs sleeping together. No, actually,
I've always said that Down Under is actually on top.
Yeah, that's what you say. That's because you want to be on top, but you actually get down under. So, no, this is a great episode. I enjoy this one. It's not one of my favorites, but it is.
I think it's in my top 5.
Wow. Yes, it's not that good for me, but again, that's because not saying anything bad about this episode, just that there's that many other great episodes.
Good save.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, Aaron. I think it's watchable, but it's I wouldn't call it a bad episode, but I definitely wouldn't say it's anywhere near my favorite.
Right. I mean, I like because we actually see Debra Pratt in it. We see Donald Bellisario in it. I mean, those make it extra special. But I mean, it adds. Well, I say it kind of, as we talked about, it kind of helps answer that question. It's already answered before, but whether or not Al is inside Sam's mind or if he's actually
physical,
an outside force, because
if he's actually in the past,
right? Because otherwise, yeah, if he was, just as we've talked about, if he was in Sam's head or mind or whatever, then he wouldn't be able to be centered on Troian.
And he wouldn't have been able to be picked up by the equipment.
Right. And I do like that when he's centered on Troian and the whole thing with him and Jimmy, and Jimmy throws his equipment overboard, and Jimmy's about ready to throw his sister in the water, and he's like, Gucci, center me, or Ziggy, center me on that, Sam, right now. And he goes like 5 feet, and Sam's right there running towards him. That always makes me laugh.
Aaron goes,
that was clever.
Aaron looks at me and goes, I like that part. I'm like, I see how you like that part.
Al's not going to know where Sam is. If he is like literally right behind him, he's only going to move a few feet.
Yeah, but I thought it was like, center me on Sam now. Oh, he's right there. He's in the water. Get him. But sometimes I'm reading on IMDb on their, as I said earlier, about their trivia. I think this one's kind of wrong. It says it's the first time Al specifically asked Gucci to get Ziggy to center him on someone other than Sam.
Yeah, that's wrong. Because,
see, that's what I'm wondering, if it's the wording in there, because we know that in Miss Daisy, Driving Miss Daisy, and in the Popeye episode, for a couple of them.
The Americanization of Machiko.
I couldn't think of the name of it. He was centered on someone else. Yeah. But did he actually ask Gucci to have Ziggy center him on it?
Yeah, well, he definitely did ask Gucci to have Ziggy center him in The Color of Truth.
That's what I was thinking. Well, maybe
he definitely did. He actually yells it out into thin air. So, yeah.
That's why I'm like, wait a minute. That ain't right. Because I was reading through the trivia today on this. I'm like, that's not right.
Yeah.
He's done that.
Unless they're talking about the production order.
Yeah, maybe. You know what? Maybe. That'd be the only way to be correct. But that's what I wanted to point out. It's listed as trivia. I'm like, well, I say it's wrong, but maybe it's not then.
Well, hang on.
But
I'm looking at the production numbers. The Color of Truth was 65013. Portrait for Troian is 65019. So, yes, this one did still come after A Color of Truth.
Yeah, so
yeah, that one's definitely a mistake. Oh, just a funny bit of trivia. Apparently, Troian was renamed Nancy in Italy because Troia is the Italian word used for prostitute or slut.
Yeah, I guess they would want to rename her then.
Yeah. But also, speaking of Troian, Michelle, we're actually going to see Troian again in a couple of episodes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Michelle was asked, she's like, had she had her baby by this point? And I'm like, yeah, and I had to look and see. And Troian was born in 85. So, yeah, she was 4 or 5 years old at this point.
Yeah, so Troian is, like in this episode, named after the daughter of Don and Debra. And the little girl Troian is a guest star in an episode that's, I think, only 2 away.
Yep. Next month is Animal Frats. And then the next episode is Another Mother. Yeah. With the actual Troian in it.
Which is kind of cool. And you might also recognize the little girl Troian, who's not a little girl anymore. She's in Pretty Little Liars.
Yes, I don't watch that one.
Have you ever seen Pretty Little Liars?
I have not, no.
Okay. It's pretty good, but the thing is I got really busy and then I kind of dropped out. I still have no idea who A is for whoever's listening and whoever knows what that is. So
I may have to check it out.
I'll have to watch it and find out at some point.
Now that I know Troian's in, I may have to watch it just to see Troian, but
yeah,
see her acting.
See, what I would have really liked, I mean, I know we're venturing off into stuff we shouldn't be talking about, but what I would have really liked is to have Troian end up becoming the Leaper in the new series. I would have thought that would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been interesting if they could have got.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this before. That it'd be cool to have her actually be the Leaper in it. I think the fact that we got talking about, was she still acting? When you said, yeah, she's in One Tree Hill or whatever, or Pretty Little Liars.
Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah, so. But yeah, that would have been cool if they could have got her, or if she was even interested. But
well, look, I think she'd do whatever her mum told her to do, from what I hear.
I don't know. She's an adult now. You know how adults are.
Yeah.
But, so, Michelle, any other thoughts on A Portrait of Troian?
Actually, I kind of found kind of a neat little website that someone created called, it's called Blue Towel Productions. I don't know if that sounds familiar or not, but what's kind of cool about it is it's got like cast notes and a bunch of other things. So what's really kind of cool about this page, it's got like comments and it's got like the synopsis and all that fun stuff. It's got cast notes. But what I did like it's got like questions like who and where is Dr. Sam Beckett? And then it tells you the date and it says, what does Sam have to do? And it says like Sam has to save Troian Cartilage from drowning as a result of believing that she is haunted by the ghost of her dead husband and that kind of thing. What I liked was, what do we learn about Sam Beckett? Sam does not believe in ghosts, vampires, or other similar supernatural elements. And I'm wondering if that actually is going to change now because of the whole lady ghost person. I've totally forgot her name.
Miss Stoltz.
Miss Stoltz, yeah. I'm wondering. And it says, what do we know about Al? The Cartilage home reminds Al of a creepy house in his neighborhood where he used to take a girl. Al knows quite a bit about electronics. He appears to allow for the possibility that ghosts are real. And Al references Tina, presumably his girlfriend, and indicates that she owns a crocodile.
Yeah, I do like that little observation. Like, hey, well,
look, I think Sam probably does start believing in ghosts after this, and just wait till he actually does meet a vampire.
Oh, jeez. And then it says, what about the experiment? Dr. Mintz, as is common amongst many of the people who swap with Sam, believes that he's been kidnapped by aliens. It also says, Sam's leap registers on Dr. Mintz's ghost detecting equipment, and somehow the fact that it detects brainwaves allows it to quote unquote read Al's presence because he's tied to Sam's brainwaves and make his voice audible. And then it says...
See, they've come to the wrong conclusion there. They've always thought that Al is connected to Sam's, like projected into Sam's mind when, what it's doing, it's like a seismograph. It picks up the electrical stuff. So, yeah. What they've said there's actually wrong. So,
right.
So don't take it as gospel.
And then I liked how it said Al speaks directly to Gushi a couple of times and then threatens to remove Ziggy's sex sensory circuits. And then for God time or something, it says there's no direct reference, but Sam appears to be thanking God when he mocks Al for discovering something sexual that Al is not into.
That was actually really funny, that scene in the mausoleum. Al was worried about the yucky stuff from the one that's only
that was
a few
so
years old.
He's like, that was like born in night or died in 1940. That's 2 or that's still kind of new or something like that. I'm like, oh, it's so, and he had that icky look. Like I loved that because I was like, that would be so me. Like I related to that so well. Then it actually says when he said the oh boy comment, which is as common as Sam says his catchphrase both shortly after arriving in 1971 and at the end when he arrived in the next episode, which actually was a previous episode.
Yeah, because like Aaron was saying before, they played a repeat after this one of Kamikaze Kid, so they showed him leap into Kamikaze Kid. And actually what we're going to see when we see Animal Frat is when he does his little recap at the start of the previous leap, he does a recap of Kamikaze Kid. Because in the original screening, that one came between them.
Oh, they say that Miss Stoltz, I will have to go back and watch this now, but it says Miss Stoltz sure is unpleasant, and she seems to come with her own thunder sound effect. Kind of like Frau Brucke. In Young Frankenstein's, Al's reaction to her is pretty funny. Oh my gosh, I need to see it just for that moment, because I love Frau Brucke in, I forget what thing means, I think it was like horse glue or something like that, or glue or something like that in a different language,
German I think, or
which is hilarious. That's why the horse is whinny every time they say her name. Oh, it just makes me laugh.
Yeah, and also a bit like the Count on Sesame Street when he finally reaches the number 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wonderful. Oh, I love the man.
Oh, as someone put, I appreciate the advice and encouragement Sam gives to Troian at the different parts of the story. Like Troian, we're not responsible for the promises beyond our power to keep, no matter how sincerely made. I did like that quote a lot.
Right.
I thought that was well written and well said. And then it says, you survived Julian's death and all the horrors that Jimmy's put you through. You'll survive this too. That's the difference between you and your brother. You're a survivor. As someone who's lost a husband, that is definitely like, that was some truth right there. Like, if you can survive that and other things in your life, then you can survive that kind of stuff, because it's rough. So I liked that. Let's see. Someone wrote, at first I thought the implied romance between Mintz and Troian seemed odd because of their age gap. That did kind of bother me the first time I saw it. I got over it quickly, but like, I actually remember thinking that in the first time I watched it, like, oh, it's a little bit of an age gap there.
Well, it's funnier when you consider that Debra and Don actually were married.
Yes.
At that time.
And that was the next thing that it says is like, and then it says, but it turned out that the actors who played them both, Debra and Donald himself and herself were really married at the time, even though, yes, there is something of an age gap between them.
Well, age is just a number.
The cubit where Al has to smack his handheld device to read the rest of something that's being sent to him. She's a house, a smack keeper that Troian hired after Julian died. He's always hitting his Lego phone.
You know, that's interesting.
What?
How would Ziggy be able to get any information about her when, for all intents and purposes, she doesn't exist in this time?
Huh?
Well, Ms. Stoltz died like 100 years earlier.
Right.
So how is Ziggy able to get any information about the current Ms. Stoltz, which is in the Claridge house, when, for all intents and purposes, she doesn't exist?
Well, apparently Troian hired her, so I mean, there's got to be documentation somewhere of some kind.
Well, the only documentation would be that she put an ad out, I suppose, and unless, well, what other information? Well, where could they get that information from? I suppose maybe the real Tim Minch in the waiting room might say something about her, but yeah, otherwise they shouldn't be able to find any information on Miss Stoltz at all. Or that they should be able to say the only Priscilla Stoltz we can find died 100 years earlier.
That is...
Very good point. Here is a fact that they said in here, and this kind of debunks what I was saying earlier, and I'm kind of sad because now I'm like, okay, fine, I'll give it to you. The earthquake depicted in the story was actually a real thing, the San Fernando earthquake of 1971. With the surface wave magnitude of 6.5, it says you'd think a big earthquake like that would have been the sort of thing that Ziggy and Al would have warned Sam about. That's interesting,
Yeah.
too.
But
Ziggy's pretty useless in this episode. Did you notice?
Yeah.
And I mean, as far as the earthquake itself, that didn't really have any effect on...
It could have, though, if they were...
She didn't die because of the earthquake. So, I mean,
but they were in the crypt and all of that stuff. And that could have been ended badly. Or it could have been like, hey, just a heads up, there is going to be an earthquake, brace yourself. Something.
Yeah. Because what happens if Sam gets caught in the earthquake and dies? You can't keep leaping after that. If it's something that he's going to be in danger from himself.
Right, yeah, it is.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't realized it, but yeah, this is another example of Ziggy being absolutely useless. All she can pick up is a ghost.
Well, but she also, something else that they point out in here that I was wondering about, that Ziggy was actually able to tell how far down
I was just going to say that.
Troian was.
Yeah, it says somehow Ziggy was able to tell Al exactly, and it's like italicized, where in the pond Troian had sunk to. This seems pretty unlikely given the limited information that they are normally working with.
Well, actually, I can believe that because there are times we might see a little later on where Al's able to use the hand link to do scans. So he's probably done a quick scan with the hand link, and Ziggy's been able to find Troian through the hand link.
And that's why I kind of brushed it aside when I was watching it, wondering maybe there was some way they were able to scan for her. We just didn't see it, maybe. Yeah. But it's...
And also Lothos is able to scan for guns.
Right.
So, yeah. So they must be able to do scans of some kind.
And I'm wondering if Aaron actually wrote this website in his sleep, because it says, funniest dialogue, Al's funniest reaction to Miss Stoltz, I think she can see me. Of course, if she's a ghost, it says, of course, if she's a ghost, or if she's really the Eber Leaper, maybe he's right. And then it says, best moment. I like the combination of drama, action, and humor when Al demands to be relocated to where Sam is, only to shift location by just a few feet. And then Sam bolts into the scene and then dives directly into the water.
Yes, I didn't write this page because I was looking at this as you were talking. And up earlier when they were talking about the episode, they didn't seem to like it very much.
I was skipping over all of that.
They referenced it as a Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah, I was skipping all of that because I was just using the useful information and not like the crap that they so spewed out onto the page, because I disagree.
As far as the fandom goes, this is actually quite an unpopular episode.
Which is odd to me, because I guess it's because I like the whole paranormal stuff and it didn't bother me that bad, because just for future reference.
I can understand it though, because you'd be expecting that a show that is quote unquote based in science shouldn't have these supernatural elements to it. And especially because this is really the first time we get something supernatural, it probably would leave a bad taste in the mouth of the people who are watching it. So look, I understand it, but I still appreciate the episode for what it is.
And that's one question I wanted to ask you about. What are your thoughts on them introducing ghosts into Quantum Leap with this episode? What are your thoughts on that? Do you like it? Does it bother you?
Well, I think throughout the series we've come to expect that there are other forces at play besides just what Sam's able to do. So I don't think it's that much of a stretch. So, yeah, look, I don't dislike it. I probably wouldn't have written anything like that myself, but like I said, I don't dislike it. I think it's a nice twist.
Yeah, see, I think it would have been better, personally, if instead of seeing Mrs. Stoltz fade out, if we see her standing there, then we cut back to Sam, and then cut back and she's not there. What does she leave? Did she step back, or is she a ghost? Instead of this clearly saying she is a ghost, I think it would have been better. So
you think there should be more of a
vagueness,
mystery setup?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, that's fair as well. I mean, I've got the benefit of hindsight here, so I know all the supernatural sort of things that they do in the series. So when you see it with the viewpoint of having seen the whole series and a lot of the extended universe as well, it doesn't seem as out of place as it would say to Michelle, who's only seeing it for the first time and up to this point in the series.
And see, I had some of the same thoughts. I mean, I know later on there's some other things it comes across as
supernaturally, so it's not that far out. Again, like I say, looking back after having watched all 5 seasons, it's not that odd. But personally, I think it would have been better if they would have left a little more vague. What are your thoughts, since he brought you up, about them introducing ghosts in the 2nd season? I'm okay with it, because to me, it's already far-fetched. It is. Like, to me, it's already, a
far-fetched premise.
Yeah, so I mean,
Where is it?
I like the fact that Sam sticks with the idea that he doesn't believe in it, because he didn't believe in it when he became the magic guy. I forget his name.
The magic guy?
Yeah. Harry Houdini. Yeah. Did
you watch that one?
Yes, I've watched Harry Houdini. Yeah.
No, I mean, did you watch the one where Sam was the magician?
No.
Oh, sorry, that's what I thought.
Is that why you were looking at me all weird? Like, when did you watch that, or what?
I'm wondering if you're crossing your streams with...
No, I'm talking about when he was like Harry Houdini and they're like they're doing the seance and stuff. And he's like, no, there's no such thing as ghosts and all that stuff. I know that's where my mind went with it, because I haven't seen. See, you guys have all this plethora of information that's in the back of your head that you guys kind of cross your streams with every once in a while, because you're like, oh, it's not in my top 5. Well, my top 5 or my top 15 is your guys' top 972 million episodes. So like right now it is in my top 5. It could possibly be that later on, after seeing a couple more seasons, that it gets in my top 10 or whatever. But so I think it's funny when you're like, well, it's not in my top 10. Well, look how big your
I understand. Yeah, that's
your list is. Yeah. But no, that's what I was just pointing out, is like right now with my experience, it's either Pig Farmer, Driving Miss Daisy, and all of these other ones that I've seen so far. And This
So
is
hang
up
on,
there.
so that's your scale. Pig farmer up to driving Miss Daisy.
Well, it's the
And
only
you were
ones I
trying to
could
figure
think
out
about.
where on the continuum this one lies.
Well, because I've been really picky, and there's been a lot that I haven't liked, or
Okay.
or we're just not. I mean, if it was playing on the TV, so like we were just flipping through channels and it was showing up, and I'd be like, oh, I remember this episode. That's the one where he became like the detective guy, or it's the one with the big lady with the big forehead lady. You know. It's dying over here. He's just shaking his head.
Play it again, Seymour.
Yes, thank you. I knew it was a detective guy with the really big forehead lady, or the train
episode.
Yes, or the train one where they're on the train and they're the married couple. That's how I remember these episodes. I don't remember names and
Honeymoon
people.
Express?
Yeah, like
Well, all right, Michelle.
Yes.
Since you're saying that you've only seen a very small sample of all the episodes so far, including the ones we watched out of order.
yes, which is so
what
confusing.
are your top 5 so far?
I don't know because I can't. I don't remember which ones I've seen.
Well, which ones jump out at you as the best ones that you've seen so far?
Creeper McCreeperson.
Okay, so that's Star-Crossed.
That's still my favorite one ever.
Okay.
Still my favorite one. Of course,
hang on. Sorry,
yeah.
I don't mean to keep interrupting you, Michelle, but
You're
you keep making me think of things that we should talk about.
Good.
All right. On the subject of Creepy McCreepface,
Yes.
should Sam end up with Donna?
Ooh. No. Maybe. No, I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know.
Donna or no Donna?
Sheesh. I don't know. Would that be nice? Yes, but I'm mad at her. So no, she
Why are you
doesn't.
mad at her?
Because of the whole dad thing. But I'm more mad at the writers for that than her. So I really can't be mad at her for that. And I'm not. I didn't remember how I said I didn't like how they did that.
Right.
So I don't think so, because I don't think Al would be who Al is. Sam. I don't think Sam would be who Sam is had he married her. I don't know if he would have ended up on the path of where he's at if he would have married her, because maybe his path would have been different. And then I wouldn't have a show to watch. So I'm being selfish and I'm saying no, he can't have Donna because he has to do the show. Do I feel that's sad and selfish and really mean of me? Yes, for the character, because I feel like I like Sam and I feel like Sam deserves happiness and I don't feel like he deserves. Oh, by the way, I have to completely be so ticked off right now because my brain just went to a Facebook post that I saw, and it's not the first time I've seen this Facebook post, and I've ignored it on several occasions because jerkwads out there. And if you're listening, listeners, 2 of you, if you post this on Facebook, I will hunt you down and I don't know, be mad at you and shake my finger at you. I have seen on so many occasions the whole in black writing, so someone's taking a picture of this or whatever, and it says Sam never gets back and never goes home or whatever the malarkey it is that they wrote. And then the next thing in the comments was, I forget what it was now, I'm gonna have to look it up.
Stop reading. Stop looking there now.
It was when they show a picture on the internet and then, oh, here it is. It's right here. It says the saddest moment in TV history. Dr. Sam Beckett never returned home. And I didn't click on the actual comments, but it always shows the first comment or the newest comment, and someone put, Sam got the opportunity to return home, but he chose not to. He told the entity that was making him leap that he still wanted to help people. What the heck, Cockasmack? You don't write that.
You also can't leave anything you read on the internet.
I don't give a crap because I've seen this so many stinking times. I am so ticked off that I know this. It's kind of like when the Avengers came out, Aaron, and you're like, I'm staying off of Facebook until I see it, or I'm not going to watch it. How much you stayed away from that? Well, when I was running my crafting group for nerds, we had this thing where it was after so much time, it's okay to talk about, because you can't not talk about it, especially if you're, Yeah, Bruno.
There has to be a statute of limitation.
Yes. So
spoilers, I suppose. Yeah.
So F you all for doing this, but I get it. But I was so sad. This was in a Facebook group called We Grew Up in the 80s. So if you're any listeners out there that joined that group, Richard Danks of the Facebook group, I'm pointing at you because that is who posted this. And Derek Porter, and I'm saying names for a reason because they deserve to be pointed out.
See, I'm going to say...
And the Starbright Project may need a lawyer.
And I'm going to say you can't believe everything you read on the internet. I'm going to say I may be wrong on this.
I have seen this.
But I believe
There's something very wrong, too, about the fact that this particular screenshot has the spelling incorrect, though.
Where?
Isn't Beckett supposed to have 2 T's?
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't make me mother effing Google this stuff.
You don't. You'll wait and you'll find out eventually.
No, like now I'm pissed because if it is wrong, I'm gonna be even more pissed that they pissed me off to make me pissed.
Well, and I'm pretty sure that comment that you're reading is inaccurate.
That he got the opportunity to go home.
And he told some entity that he doesn't want to go and he's got things to do.
But that's a very Sam-like thing. Don't tell me that. And because if it does happen, I'm going to be more mad at you for telling me that it did when it didn't. And it did. Boy, I feel like I'm in Spaceballs right now. When will then be now? Soon.
I may be mistaken, but I'm going to say that statement is inaccurate. Without saying what about it is inaccurate. I'm going to say that statement's inaccurate.
Okay, so he still didn't get home, but he didn't tell somebody.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, but I can see it in your face.
No, you can't. Yes, my face isn't saying anything.
I'm
just saying something in there is inaccurate.
Sad. I'm so sad.
But anyway, going back to what we were saying. So on the subject of Donna, think no Donna. Is that right?
I'm covering my face with my hands, and
I'm just interested to hear what you think.
I know, but.
Yeah. But I was just going to say, it's very interesting that you say that, you feel bad because you think it's selfish that we expect Sam to be out there helping people when he doesn't get to have the happiness. But I also think, too, there's the other side of the coin for Donna as well, because, I mean, how horrible would it be to have Sam fix up her, her daddy issues about abandonment, but then to go and leap and abandon her as well?
Yes, and especially if that's her one true love.
Well, but if he did fix her daddy issues, as Al said, she was engaged to someone before Sam.
Yeah, but it could not be her one true love,
it wasn't
though.
Creepy McCreep face, as Debra told me off about.
I'm so sorry, Debra.
But
I was explaining that to our daughter because we were like telling her that I was complaining. I was like, yeah, like I met her. And not met her, but like I got to talk to her, and we were showing her on the screen, and I was like, yeah, and I was an idiot when I was talking to her, and like had I known who she really, really was, I probably would have watched my P's and Q's a little bit better. But it was so early on, and
look, I'm sure she found it refreshing, actually, and I'm sure she was very amused.
Yeah, but sounding like an idiot to like someone you idolize is just really bad. But
at least it's always a talking point. All right, but anyway, we were on the subject of your best episode. So you like Star-Crossed the best?
So let me just run through real quick the episodes. There was Genesis, which was the first 2-parter.
Okay.
We got introduced to Sam. Star-Crossed.
Oh, I liked that episode, sort of. I it's not my like top 5-ish, but it's up there.
Star-Crossed.
It's a very good introduction to the series.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Star-Crossed, which is the Donna one.
I liked that episode.
The Right Hand of God. So he's the boxer kid Cody.
That one was okay. That was okay.
And here's just your favorite episode, How the Test Was Won.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Double Identity.
Which one's that?
That's where
he was the gangster.
The mafia.
Yeah.
In the Double Leap.
I don't remember that.
He left out and then he left.
Yeah, remember Frankie, you was terrific. I'm lying, I'm dying.
Oh, it's
I'm lying.
No, it's the song.
Yeah,
Valari. That's the Valari episode. I love Valari. Yes. See, you got to speak my language here, guys.
See, I like that one because it shows, at least in this instance, what happens when one of the Leapies returns. He had amnesia.
In other words, nothing.
Oh, yeah, but it still
shows that. So I like that.
Yeah, I just like
The Color of Truth. We left in the old black guy.
That's Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like that one.
Kamikaze Kid.
Yeah, it was all right.
You saw. at the end of this one.
Yeah.
Play it again. Seymour.
That was okay.
Honeymoon Express.
That was all right.
Disco Inferno.
I liked that one.
The Americanization of Machiko.
I enjoyed that one a lot.
What Price Gloria?
That was all right. It's okay.
Blind Faith.
Which one was that?
The piano.
He's blind.
Blind piano player.
Oh, meh. That one actually annoyed me, I think.
Good Morning Peoria.
That's the radio one.
Yeah.
That was all right.
Thou Shalt Not. That's where he leapt into the, what was it, a rabbi?
The rabbi.
Oh, I enjoyed that one for what it
His
was.
brother.
I think I did.
It's just it wasn't very much.
You're so funny. Hayden.
Jimmy.
That was all right. I mean, I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it.
So Me God.
Is that?
We got to redo that's the Lord.
Yeah, I'm like not looking forward to that one.
Catch a Falling Star.
I loved that one.
Portrait of Troian.
Loved that one.
Those ones we've seen in order. And then you've also
But we've also seen a few others. We saw the trilogy.
That's what I was looking for real quick. We saw the
We
Boogeyman.
saw Deliver Us from Evil.
Saw the Boogeyman.
Boogeyman.
Don't
we
say the
said?
word.
Oh, I was just reading without even thinking. Black and White on Fire.
I don't
That's where he
remember.
leapt into the black guy, and he was dating the white girl.
Oh, that was a good
During
one.
the What's Rights.
What's
Yeah,
Rights.
that was a good one.
And then
what
we
else did we
saw.
Now it's funny. We're gonna go back and listen to these episodes, and I'll be like, I didn't like that one. I didn't like that one. I'm like, oh, it was a good one.
What about, did we end up watching Miss Deep South, the beauty queen
I don't
one
think so.
yet?
Yes,
Did
we have.
See, I don't remember us talking about. I don't remember.
I don't know if we've talked about it, but I was just wondering.
Tell me a little bit about it. I could tell you.
Well, Sam's a beauty queen in that one.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much without spoiling things. I don't think we watched that one again. I don't remember. I haven't seen that. I don't remember seeing that one for a while.
That's all right.
It's a
were there any
Wonderful
others
Leap.
that we saw?
Oh, that's a
Wonderful
Christmas one.
That's the Christmas one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, A Little Miracle.
That was
Did
a
you
good
like
one.
that one?
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good. It's not like I was, except for Pig Farmer and the courtroom one, because I think I just got tired. I'm tired of the courtroom one. I'm tired of that stuff. But
Yeah. Well, like I said, you probably wouldn't have gotten tired of So Help Me God if you hadn't seen a very similar courtroom sort of setup in the
Right.
trilogy as well. So that's probably our
The
fault. there.
trilogies.
which one was the one where Al was in his white uniform defending himself and the project?
That was the.
That was Honeymoon Express.
I
That was
liked
the first
that one.
episode of the second season.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
That's where he was on the train.
Yeah.
His honeymoon and
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
So far in your top 5, you've said Star-Crossed, you've said Color of Truth, you've said Honeymoon Express, Black and White on Fire. What makes up the top 5 for you? What's the last one?
Oh, you didn't say Creeper McCreeperson, did you?
Yeah,
that
that's
was
Star-Crossed.
Oh, the play one.
Don Quixote,
Yes.
Catch a Falling Star.
Yes.
All right, great. That's actually a good choice for top 5. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
Well-
helping me figure that out, because if you didn't write that down, it'll be in another top 5 tomorrow. You'll be like,
Yeah.
what about this
All right,
one?
well,
Oh,
what about
yeah.
your bottom 5 then?
Pig
Besides
Farmer.
Pig Farmer.
Pig Farmer. Pig Farmer. No.
Pig farmer, and
Pig Farmer. Definitely the courtroom one that we just saw.
So help me God.
Yeah, I mean, I feel it's funny saying that I don't. What my least favorite ones
careful, Debra
are.
wrote that one.
It's hard for me to say that, because there's still qualities of each of the ones. It's kind of like you've always said, Hayden. Even the worst episodes are not
It's better than most
horrible.
TV.
Yeah, so it's like trying to pick your favorite kid on the day that they're all behaving the same. You can't really pick your favorite kid at that point. But if one is acting better than the other one, you're like, that's my favorite child for today. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I get that.
I played good in Seymour's one of your lower ones.
yeah, that one was just boring to me. And her forehead bugged me.
All right, mental
He's
note, never
groaning.
invite Claudia Christian to be on the show.
It was just the way they styled her hair. I think she's a very beautiful woman. Don't get me wrong, but her forehead too. And you know what? She might actually agree with me on that. She could be like, I didn't like my hairdo that day.
She doesn't. She's completely wrong.
So, I mean, I know there's pictures of me of I'm like, holy crap, why did I have my hair like that? I look ridiculous. So, doesn't mean that, well, I would say it doesn't mean that I'm an ugly woman. It just means that my hair was looking horrible that day. But, it's just, I don't know. I would say the teenager one. Kamikaze Kid. It's okay, but it's not like I have to watch it again, or do I need to see it again? Meh.
Oh, and guess what? The next episode is in the lineup.
Kamikaze Kid. Yeah. Thank goodness we've already recorded that one.
Yeah.
I would say, now that I'm thinking about it, the radio one's not like, I liked it, but it's not like...
Good Morning Peoria?
Yeah. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't like I have to watch that one again. I'm trying to think of the ones that I went, like, if you said we want to record about, I'd be like, oh, okay, let's watch it. Where this one, I'm like, I've seen it.
Yeah. I can't believe you didn't say the trilogy for the bottom ones.
Yeah.
Or at least parts of the trilogy.
Yeah, there were parts of the trilogy.
The second part of the trilogy in particular is that one needs to be flushed.
Which one was that? But I like the little girl one. Or am I...
the first one.
Yeah. So the first one, which is very much like the movie The Bad Seed.
Yes, I liked that one.
Yeah, it's where he left into her dad and the little girl. The second one he
that
left
one
into...
bothered me. It's still, like, thinking about it now, I'm like, I actually got uncomfortable thinking about it. So I'm actually going to put that on my bottom list.
The second episode of that was where he leapt into Will.
Yeah,
and she was the
fiance.
Older, yeah, the little girl. She was older.
Oh, that one annoyed the shit out of me.
And then the third one is where he leapt into the lawyer defending.
Okay, yeah, those need to just burn. They can burn. Those are up there with like Pig Farmer. I'm sorry, but those can burn.
All right. Well, that's very interesting because now we've seen what 20-ish episodes.
That's what I was just about 27, 28.
Yeah, it's well worth seeing what you think about the series as a whole that you've seen. So
what about you guys? What are your top fives?
Out of 97 episodes.
Jeez,
like
I told you 97 million gazillion episodes.
So you're like a quarter of the way through.
Woo.
Okay. Well,
but see, the question is, out of the ones we've seen?
Yeah, out of the ones I've seen, what are yours? So let's go that route.
Not my overall top.
No, because that doesn't count to me. Those don't exist yet in my book. So I wanted to talk about the ones that I've seen. Because, it's about me. Just kidding.
All right. Well, of the ones I've seen with you, The Color of Truth is my top one.
That's a very good one.
Yeah, and Jimmy up there. And I think Deliver Us from Evil as well, because I like the expansion of the lore and the fact that we come back to, a family that we're familiar with. So how many is that so far? 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like, trying to remember which ones we've seen out of the order.
The Two Evil Leapers, the trilogy, the Black and White.
We only watched one Evil Leaper episode, didn't we?
That's all I remember.
Oh, no, actually we watched, we didn't watch Return. We watched...
we forgot that we watched Lee Harvey Oswald as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm putting Lee Harvey Oswald in the top 5 as well.
That's one of my bottom ones.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen The Return of the Evil Leaper. We saw...
Yeah, and I've got to put something else in there. Probably, out of the ones we've seen, probably What Price Gloria, because it's so funny. So that's my top 5 of the ones we've seen so far.
What's your bottom?
Oh, the bottom 5. Oh, yeah, well, I'm with you on Pig Farmer. Thou Shalt Not. That is bottom of the barrel. And the 3 trilogies that can make the bottom 5.
Okay. What about you, babe?
Well, that's hard for me because I like most of them. For the top 5, I agree mostly with Hayden's list. It's just there's other ones I'd put up there, but I don't want to remove any of the ones that Hayden has. My favorites, like I say, Star-Crossed. I mean, Genesis was a great opening for the show. I like Double Identity just because it shows more about the project where we see someone actually return from a leap, what happens. That makes it one of the great ones, in my opinion. I really like Good Morning Peoria. I like that one.
What made you like that one so much?
The music and the fact that he was a Wolfman Jack type character, and that's a character I grew up with on the radio.
It is really fun, that episode.
And yeah, it's
real relatable to you.
Yeah, it's just a fun episode.
That's probably why I like the theater one, because of Lux being in the theater and stuff, and because I was in drama and stuff. Like, it wasn't that I liked the story so much, but I liked watching him be on stage and do the whole thing. Like, that to me was worth it.
I mean, Jimmy was good. The unnamed episode, as Hayden likes to refer to it, that was a good one.
I think you've said more than 5.
That's what I'm saying. It's hard for me to get 5 because they're all, a lot of them are great.
And what about your bottoms?
Probably, even though I liked it better than you guys, I'm going to put the How the Test Was Won in there. probably play it again Seymour, I think.
Okay.
Thou Shalt Not. And I'm going to pet to my wife's ire Catch a Falling Star
Oh, okay.
in there. And maybe Disco Inferno, I guess.
Oh, that's another good one.
Okay.
I enjoyed it, but yeah, out of the ones we've seen, that's probably, again, it's hard to pick because, like I say, for the most part, I've enjoyed all the ones we've seen for the most part.
Yeah. It's much easier to pick your favorites than your least favorites, isn't it?
Well, it's even hard for me to pick my favorites because there's so many.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you say, just pick my top 5. Well, it's hard for me to pick the top 5 because it depends on the mood I'm in, the day of the week.
Yeah, me too.
They're all, for the most part, they were from good to great. Enough. So
yeah, well, actually, on Al's Place, there was a post where people were putting their bottom episodes. I'm just trying to see if I'm still on the right track with what I said. I can't even remember where I found it now.
Now, when we get further along, there'll be a few more that I can pick out in the bottom 5 that be a little easier to pick out.
I remember I got told off for criticizing Thou Shalt Not, and, well, I'm entitled to my opinion.
You are.
Yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Otherwise,
oh, here it is. Top 10 worst episodes of Quantum Leap.
Because I will say this before you say that. Everybody's going to have their own favorite. They're going to have their least favorite, and everybody is going to like something different. And if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have so many amazing episodes to watch because it would be the same thing. Because then they would only play the certain kind of show so they could get all the ratings. So they had to do different ones to appease all the different people in the audience.
I'm going to say these names that I read out. You won't know what they are, Michelle, and I'm not going to give any context. So
fine.
Here's my bottom 10 of the overall episodes. Blood Moon, Runaway, Piano Man, Thou Shalt Not. Actually, I'll read out what was said in this thread here for Thou Shalt Not. I wrote for Thou Shalt Not, if you're going to have a culture or religion featured in an episode, then it must have some effect on the story. But the Jewish factor was only added to fill out the episode a bit. The saving grace in the episode is the acting and the outcome, writing a book that helps other families who are grieving. And then someone posted, that is a really, really bad take and wrong in so many ways. And I'm like, no, but...
Yeah, thank you for your opinion, but no.
Yeah, but I said, I'm not sure if you're agreeing with my statement that Quantum Leap's take on it was a really bad take, or if you disagree with what I said. But this person wrote, Quantum Leap did a good job with representation. I'm saying your comment is a bad take. There are many different cultures and religions in the world, and that fact is the only reason needed to include people of those cultures and religions in stories. However, it so happens that there are cultural specifics included in this episode that do matter to the storyline and push it forward, even if you're unaware of them. And I said, well, then you should explain them, because as far as I can tell, you could remove the entire Jewish factor in the episode and not have it change the story at all. The only thing I can think of that had any effect on his mission at all was that one of the wives came to him to confess her affair, which helped him figure out what Bert was doing, which was to take advantage of the grieving women. But it wasn't even Sam being Jewish which did this. It's the fact that he was in a position of power. Sam could have been in some other position of power, like a counselor, and still have the same effect in the episode. I'm not saying that Sam would not come across people of different cultures and faiths. I'm saying for the writing to be good, what you include should have some significance to the story. Freedom, for example, did this beautifully. That's another episode. So the person said, so do you feel the same way re stories about white Christians, that there should be elements of Christianity and white culture in these stories in order for the stories to have significance and not be interchangeable with any other culture or religion? Otherwise, it's not good writing. So I wrote, the difference is that the Jewish community is a minority and thus needs to be treated with sensitivity. Parodying a minority's culture for no reason is culturally insensitive. No, my opinion is that it was handled very, very poorly, and that, you know, I know you didn't like the episode, Michelle, but in So Help Me God, the fact that the solution to the episode was actually found through the Bible actually made the religious side of things in the episode have some significance.
Some impact.
Yeah, that's the point that I was coming across. Like, they could have made the Jewish side of things in that episode have an impact by having, say, something similar where Sam finds a potential solution in the Torah when he's conducting the Bat Mitzvah or something like that. But no, to just, you know, have a couple of scenes where they dance the hora and talk about some of the food.
It just showed the lives of people of different cultures, because I know the Jewish culture I mean, you do have some Christian cultures that, like, you know, they wear longer dress, like they don't wear pants, they wear skirts or whatever the case may be. But I felt like they wanted to make them Jewish, and to show that that was part of who they were as a person, they showed that part. Like, to me, I don't understand why that is such a huge deal to you. Like, it just is what it is.
Well,
like,
it just seems like it's very lazy writing to have wafer thin story and then pad it out by putting front and center somebody's religion or somebody's culture. It's just.
But to me, it's kind of the same way as if we look back at the episode we were talking about this evening. She was wearing all white, and then all of a sudden now she's wearing pink. It was never brought up, and it was never something that was a deal, but it was just part of who the character was. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
want anyone to think that I'm not for diversity or inclusion either.
Yeah,
I'm just saying it needs to be woven in better. That's all.
I don't know. I just think
on your where Hayden's coming from, on your example in the story, if from what we're getting from it, the white and then changing to pink actually is possibly something related to the story.
Well, yes, if it is, but right, I'm just saying, like,
whereas the whole Jewish part,
it's who the characters were.
But they could have been anything, is what he's saying.
Yeah, but they picked that particular group of people to make those group of people.
Wouldn't you prefer to learn more about them as like their personalities rather than the fact that they believe something?
No.
I don't know if that's...
No.
Yeah. I just find it to be very, very lazy.
Because to me, like, I feel like your faith is part of who you are. And I know I've seen like a couple documentaries on like real Jewish, like people who really practice Judaism, to the point where women have to wear like scarves and wear wigs to go out. Like their husbands can't, like their husbands are the only people who's allowed to see their real hair. And like they choose to live in a Jewish neighborhood, and they can only go to certain places and eat certain foods and shop at certain, I mean, it's a huge culture. And so to me, it was just like, oh, that's who those people are. Okay. That's just who they are as in general. It didn't, just because it didn't affect the story doesn't mean that couldn't be them. Like it could have been, hi honey, I'm home. And he was a race car driver in a race car suit. Didn't matter to me that that's where he worked. It just was where he worked. Like it's their faith. That's what their faith are. And it was in that Jewish community that this story happened. It could have been someone who was, Muslim, and they had on the burqas or Indian, and they were in their Indian attire. It wouldn't have mattered to me, because that's who they are as a person and a culture in their lives. Like it showed outside of that.
Yeah, I understand that, and I agree with that. I'm just saying you don't need to create a whole scene putting something front and center when you're saying, well, it should just be in, like, essentially just in the background because it's who they are. So also there's a little sentence here from Behind the Mirror Image, which is essentially the book that we all go to. It says, the writer's guide for the series warns against having Sam leap into a situation just for the shock value without really considering how an entire episode can follow it. For better or worse, this is certainly the case here. Look, Sam is conducting a bat mitzvah. And then after the ceremony is over, Judaism plays no part in the show at all. The characters could just as easily have been any religion of all. Of course, in a country nearly 2% Jewish, it would be ridiculous in over 100 leaps for him to not work with a Jewish family. It's just very much a bait and switch, implying an episode about Judaism and delivering one about grief. So it's not to do with the diversity or the inclusion at all. I'm all for it. It's the bait and switch, and it's the putting something on a spotlight when it's not going to have any effect.
To me, that's an opinion.
Like, it is.
I mean, yeah, it is an opinion, and I'm entitled to it.
Well, absolutely, absolutely.
It's not to be wrong.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I feel like that's just like it's a moot point to argue over that, I guess, because it is what it is. Like,
no, I'm speaking that it's not mute. It might be moot.
Yeah, moot point. Sorry. It just, to me, it is what it is. And like, it didn't ruin or change or take away from the episode to me. But that's, again, my opinion.
The episode was already wafer thin. It didn't add anything. I'll give you that. But also, Aaron, I might not always be right, but I'm never wrong. Anyway, going back to, because I was talking about my least favorite episodes, wasn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
That's how you got on there.
Yeah, so I was talking about Thou Shalt Not, and then the actual bottom 10. All right, here we go. Getting back on topic. Next in the bottom 10 would be Hurricane, then All Americans, The Play's The Thing, A Single Drop of Rain, How the Test Was Won, Pig Farmer, and then I picked comic story called The Infinite Corridor from comic number 3. All right. So those were my bottom 10 of the real episodes. My opinion hasn't really changed on it since I wrote it all those years ago either. But I think because we've been spending so long talking about other things, I have a feeling we don't have much else to say about the episode that we were doing, which was A Portrait for Troian, which is quite interesting considering that it is such a divisive episode, but it seems like we're all on the same page with it. We all seem to think that it's an okay episode that's definitely watchable, expands the lore a little bit, and has some good parts.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else either of you wanted to say about the episode of Portrait for Troian?
My dear?
Anything else you want to say about it?
No, I think we've covered quite a bit of it.
Yeah, I think we've covered it quite a bit at this point.
All right, great.
All right, well, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
As always.
Do you have any other thoughts about anything we've talked about today? Are you good?
No,
you
I
happy-ish?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I enjoyed the episode, so I'm happy with that. How about you?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed this episode.
So you want to get out your Lego phone?
My hand link.
The Lego phone. Oh, wait. The Lego phone. I can't do it as well as you and Hayden.
Lego phone.
Yeah.
Lego.
Okay, you sounded on like E.T.
Yeah, that's what I have to say. In fact, that'd be my next thing.
E.T.
Lego phone.
Anyway, you want to check it and see what Ziggy has to tell us where we're going?
You pull the hand link out.
Let's end this episode before people stop ending us.
Too late. Okay. Do you like school?
I want to be a teacher when I grow up.
Do you like college?
No.
Oh. Well,
not at all.
Do you like fraternity houses?
No, but I will say that I used to try watching
Animal House?
Animal House when it was on TV, and I would get in a lot of trouble with that and Porky's and that kind of stuff. Because I always thought it was really funny.
I like Porky's.
I'm sure you did for other reasons.
Anyways, looking at the hand link, well.
Are we going to a frat party?
You get to watch Animal House.
Oh.
Okay, maybe not Animal House, but close enough.
Booger. What?
That was Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh. Oh, boy.
Thank you for listening to the Starbright Project. Join us monthly as we continue leaping with Sam and Al. If you like the show, I recommend buying Quantum Leap on Blu-ray. You can also watch it on the NBC website or app. The only thing on this show that Michelle and I own are our thoughts and opinions. NBC Universal own the rights to Quantum Leap, and any songs that we use are owned by their respective owners. Any clips we use, we're using in good faith for the show. I know this doesn't excuse us legally, but we just want NBC to sue us. We're just big fans of the show and want to share that love with the world. For more podcasting goodness, check out the other shows on the Headcast Network. Head Speaks is released on the first Tuesday of the month, where I talk about comics, TV shows, movies, books, whatever I want, but it's usually geek-related. G.I. Joe, a Royal American Headcast, is normally out the second Tuesday of the month, where a rotating batch of guest hosts and I discuss the G.I. Joe comics and cartoons from the 80s. The third Thursday brings us Task Force X, where I talk about John Ostrander's Suicide Squad and Paul Kupperberg's Checkmate comics, both from the late 80s, early 90s. Finally, the fourth Tuesdays of the month, we have the Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour, where I examine the Will Payton Starman comic and the Mark Shaw Manhunter comics, again, both from the late 80s. Then on Thursdays, I release my second batch of shows, where Michelle shows up on most of them. The first Thursday of the month, I'll be releasing the Starbright Project, a Quantum Leap podcast, where Michelle and I look at the greatest time travel show in the late 80s and early 90s. Then the second Thursday of the month, look for Retrospect to the 80s. You guessed it, Michelle and myself take a time travel trip back to the greatest decade that was, well, in my opinion. The third Thursday, we'll maybe bring another show, Voyager's Cast, where Michelle, I, and some guests look at the best time travel show from the early 80s. And finally, on the fourth Thursday of the month, I have Bravo Team, where myself and possibly some guest hosts talk about anything G.I. Joe related, not covering the main G.I. Joe show. Also, if you like what I'm doing, please check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/headcastnetwork. If you're enjoying my shows, throw a few bucks in the bin. It'd be most appreciated. But that'll do it for this episode. Join us next time to see where Sam ends up.
Oh boy.